Here is a case, which is not what we're interested in. So I'm gonna go ahead and toss that aside, and this reveals what looks to be surprisingly a really good looking iPhone 7 clone. Taking a closer look, one of the things I was personally most curious about is whether or not the headphone jack was there, and clearly it is not. Now if we stack this side by side next to an iPhone 6s, it lines up pretty accurately with everything we've heard so far. Gone is the headphone jack, and in place of that is a second speaker grill, which in turn should give us stereo speakers on the iPhone 7. Personally, for the most part, I use wireless Bluetooth headphones, so I might actually fall towards the side of giving up the headphone jack for better sounding speakers. But regardless, if you were counting on the headphone jack staying, it is not looking good right now. Now the other noticeable difference when stacked side by side next to the iPhone 6s is of course the camera, which is way bigger. This lends itself to be an upgrade not so much towards the megapixel count, which should remain the same at 12, but rather larger pixels, which will actually be really helpful and is part of the reason the Galaxy S7 has such a great camera this year. Now with this clone lining up directly with the iPhone 6s, there is no sign of a dual camera. If we do see that, it's either going to be on the iPhone 7 Plus or the iPhone 7 Pro. The only thing up in the air right now is whether or not Apple's going to have 2 or 3 models. There is totally a chance we see the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus with the single larger camera, and then a third model, the iPhone 7 Pro with that dual pixel camera. Personally, I wish there was one camera option uniformly across the iPhone 7 lineup, but to have to choose between models for a completely different and better camera is not going to be cool. Now one of the things I was initially negative on and have kind of come full circle is the removal of the antenna bands. Up until this point, we've really only seen renders or low quality pictures which were potentially photoshopped, but now that I have this close up and in my hands, I kind of really like how it looks. And looking at this side by side with the iPhone 6s, I think I definitely prefer the looks of the iPhone 7 clone. Now the downside and the reality check for everyone is that it looks really close to the iPhone 6s. There is not a lot different between the two. Obviously those who continually upgrade to a new iPhone every year are going to buy this phone, but if you're coming from an iPhone 6 or especially an iPhone 6s, this is not going to be drastically different. The one positive note is there should be a bump as far as storage goes, so the iPhone 7 should be the death of 16GB base iPhones. More than likely we'll see 32, 64, and 128GB models, and if we are to see the highly rumored 256GB model, I would suspect that's only going to be on the iPhone 7 Pro if that's released. Now by no means does this mean the iPhone 7 is going to be a bad phone. Based off this, I think it's going to look great, it's going to perform well, it's going to take fantastic photos and video, but again, the moral of the story is that it's not going to look that much different than the iPhone 6s. Now if you want to see a more in-depth comparison against the iPhone 6s, go ahead and check out my buddy Austin Evans' video. He's busting out rulers, calipers, and getting deep into it, so you go ahead and click that video.